I got fired and went after the boss's money, his hotel, and his marriage. Back when I still was in university, I used to work for a hotel to make ends meet. When I started, the hotel very urgently needed new personnel. So I cut a deal with the old owner about getting to choose and pick shifts so I could visit my courses and exams. Speaking some extra foreign languages, I also got a little bonus each month on top. The old owner was a great guy. He owned multiple hotels, so I rarely saw him. But when he was in the house, he always made a point to have drinks with the staff, chat with us, and if we were free, he even invited those of the front desk to fancy restaurants who were not on shift. Fast forward. I had worked in the hotel for a few years now and was nearing the completion of my studies. So it wouldn't have been an eternity until I had to quit anyway. As I was of course more interested to work in my field of study. As part of my deal with the old owner, I mostly chose to work night shifts, allowing me to visit my courses at university during the day. To make up for my privileges, I had picked up the habit of doing some extra work in the dead of night other shifts would normally have to do, when I on contrast could have sat around and stared at the walls. People were grateful for the help in the beginning, and we became a rather tight-knit group. But over time people rotated in and out. When the old owner retired and his asshole of a son took over the business as the new owner, I already feared the worst. The new owner didn't like me very much. I never found out the exact reason for that one. I was at that point nearly the sole veteran left from when I started. Among the tasks I had taken on was doing light clerical tasks to ease the manager's job in the morning. For that, I generally had to use the manager's network account. One night, while doing my lists, I logged into the manager's account and emailed to do my job. Then I saw an email with my name in the subject line. I know it is not nice to snoop, but of course, I read it. Turns out the new owner wanted to get rid of me. I still had my old employee contract with the bonuses for foreign language abilities and was allowed by my contract to pick and choose shifts. I can only assume these privileges are what made the new owner hate me. No idea if he had other reasons. Because to be honest, these seem very weak to me. But he couldn't fire me without cause. On top of that, I would be owed severance if fired. And generally, there were not enough bodies in the shift rotation without me. Though the new owner didn't seem to understand that point, as the emails told me. I looked for more email concerning me and found them. There was an email chain between some of the employees, the manager, and the new owner. I was of course not CC'd as I was the hated topic. The employees didn't like me hogging the night shifts, because those paid better, and for every night you worked you got paid the night bonus. The manager was the only one rather neutral on the matter and just curbed their enthusiasm to get rid of me, as they needed me to be fully staffed. The new owner and my colleagues actively conspired to make a hostile work environment so I would quit of my own volition. I was furious. I thought about a variety of reactions, from egging their cars to burning down the hotel. But I settled on a less crazy method of revenge. I called my uncle at 2 a.m. asking for advice. My uncle is a lawyer, so for sake of proof, I forwarded myself all the emails. I made photos, printed them out, made copies and filmed the whole deal just to be sure. My uncle told me to sit tight and see if things got worse or if it was just bluster. And so I gave it a few days. And things did take a turn. Snide remarks about my looks, clothing, and so on were only the tip of the iceberg. Some of the colleagues were just as professional as before. But the conspirators always left extra work for me or pawned of shit duties they normally had to do on me. I always kept a spare shirt and suit at work just to have a change, which suddenly disappeared. One guy even started to threaten me with violence. But I kept clenching my butt cheeks. I would not give them the satisfaction of saving on the severance or giving in. I am a big boy after all. I did, however, stop doing any extra work I was not obligated to do, which in the end was the reason they used to fire me. They still had to pay me severance. The next day my uncle, with bundled proof of the email and all documented harassment by my colleagues, served the hotel my lawsuit. It started with wrongful termination and ended with harassment. Reportedly, the manager went white as a sheet when he realized where the emails must have come from. The new owner had been on vacation and had to cancel his expensive vacation in France to deal with this. Their counsel advised them to settle. So I accepted my severance and a hefty bonus on top. Enough money to last me until the end of university without work. But that was not all my revenge. I had gone after the new owner's money. But in the next step, I went after the hotel. I had used all the spare time during night shifts alone to document every last violation of city, county, district, state, and federal law I could find. That went from minor things like some harmless mold under the kitchen sink to substantial violations like modifications to the building. The building was under a limited form of historical protection by federal law on the ground of being built and inhabited by somewhat important historical figures a few hundred years back. So every renovation or change in floor plans needs to be signed off on by a committee, which can take ages. There is also a grant paid to the new owner by the government for keeping the building intact as is. So with my uncle's help, I sent documentation of every violation I could find to the corresponding agency. In 1 month, everything from health, building code, fire safety to the finance and work police crawled over the hotel. In the end, it was the building and fire inspectors that shut the place down. The new owner had done substantial renovations to the top floor luxury apartments, which he used when he was in town. So the new owner had to pay back the grant, pay fines for unauthorized alterations to the building, endangering his guests, because something wasn't built right according to fire code, and had to close down shop until the building was fixed. I also tipped off a friend who had studied journalism and worked at a local paper. The paper ran an article on all the violations accumulated, which tanked the business once it had reopened, as the newspaper article had led to horrible reviews. In the end, to afford all the fines, repayments, and building costs, the new owner sold the hotel. As the cherry on top, all the assholes who had tried to harass me out lost their job. Granted, the people who didn't do anything to me lost their jobs too, but didn't do anything to stand up for me or help me either. So I don't feel too much remorse. And the revenge cherry on top was that the new owner, whenever he was in town, used to bring home escorts, which in my country is not illegal. But he was married. It took some doing to get that information to the new owner's wife. But one of my former colleagues, who had quit before this had all happened, had her email. So I let her know what the new owner was up to when he was out of town. I don't know what exactly happened, but they did divorce in the end. Make of that what you will. TLDR, new boss dislikes me. I wait until I get fired to sue him for encouraging other employees to make my life miserable, so I quit. I take my severance and a hefty settlement. Then I send proof and a list of violations that the hotel is not up to code to the according agencies. The hotel gets shut down. To pay for fines and to get it back up to code, hotel needs to be sold. Asshole colleagues lose their jobs. Lastly, I know boss cheated on his wife with escorts, which I let the wife know. Marriage blew up. My mother has booked her hotel room next to us on our wedding night. I, 26F, am getting married in August next year. I wanted to be prepared for the potential wedding boom that could happen in my country next year, and booked everything already now so I don't have to stress over the details later. My father gifted me and my future husband a suite to stay in during the wedding at one of the finest hotels in my town. When Mom found out that we got a suite for my dad, she booked 2 suites in the same hotel for her, my stepdad, and my brother. She made a big deal that I and my hubby picked our suite first so she would reserve that suite by mistake. My parents have been divorced for 23 years and have been doing petty things like this to one-up each other my whole life, so it's nothing new and I'm just shaking it off and continue with my life. Yesterday Mom called me and wanted to tell me that she has now booked the suites and what nice staff there are at the hotel. They are so service-oriented. They said it wouldn't be a problem to book her suite right next to you and hubby's suite. Quite honestly, I was a bit dumbfounded when I heard that. I don't know if I'm oversensitive or being unreasonable, but if there's one thing I don't want, it's spending my wedding night with my mom in the next room. Now I have to take time out of my day to contact the hotel to prevent this. Ada, thank you for the support, everyone. I try to answer as many of you as possible, but I thought I would answer some common questions here. The hotel cannot move my mom because mom booked exactly that room and the receptionist said the room was available on that date. They did not release my information to her. Mom knew exactly which room I would stay in and which date, so she didn't have to say, "Can I have a room next to my daughter?" She only needed to say, "Can I have room A which is next to room B?" I don't want to change hotels. It's one of the most romantic ones in the city I live in, and I don't want to let my mom chase me away. Many of you suggest I just talk to her. That won't happen either. It's not the first time she's done something like this. I moved 3H away from her for a reason. There were some who wanted an update. Yes, I'm a doormat. I have been conditioned to never speak up against my mother and avoid conflict with her because it takes too much energy to argue with her, and I'm wrong in the end anyway. All of your comments were very helpful, but especially one person who PM'd me made me realize how my inaction can hurt my relationship, and that was the wake-up call I need. I sat down with my fiancé and read through what I wrote and the comments where we had a long conversation about the incident and how he feels about it all. It was very clear that I needed to talk to my mother and say how I felt about her wanting a room next to me on my wedding night. My mom can be really manipulative in discussions and has a tendency to shift the focus of the discussion away from the problem and onto another detail and discuss that detail instead of the problem. Therefore, I did not dare to talk to her directly, but I wrote to her. I've been thinking a little more about what you said about having a room next to me and my husband on my wedding night, and I'm not really comfortable with it being so close. Mom, when did we talk about it? Gives a description of when we last spoke. Mom, I told the hotel that I wanted a room as close to you as possible, not a room right next to you. Saying as close as possible feels like saying I want a room next door. Mom, but that's not what I said. I said as close to you as possible. I never said next to you too. No, but it can be perceived that way. Mom, but I never said that. When would I have said that in that case? Stepdad and your brothers just wanted a room near you. It's okay, but not next to me and my fiancé. I don't want my brothers or family in the next room on my wedding night. No response after that from her. We talked some more on another occasion, and she is wholly convinced that the hotel understands that when she said as close as possible, they understand that she does not mean the room next to us and that she will not have a room next to us. I ask if she has spoken to the hotel about it, and she goes back to saying that the hotel definitely understands what she means. I'm sorry there wasn't a better solution than this. I and my future husband have already gone to LC with her, but she has my youngest little brother, 15, at her house, and I can't cut contact with my mom without my little brother being taken from me, and I can't let that happen. So I have to wait until he has successfully moved out of the home before I go and see with my mom. More stories my mom has done to me. She gave me an eating disorder when I was 18 because she talked a lot about weight and diets and encouraged me to lose too. She gave me diet pills and apparently didn't see that I only ate 2 eggs a day and worked out daily after work. When I told her that my fiancé and I have set a date for the wedding, her response was that it was a good motivation for me to lose weight. When I talked about what colors I wanted for the wedding, she mentions that she wants to be dressed in the wedding colors, but she shows me dresses in colors I haven't chosen and said that I must have shown her a picture with those colors even though I say no. She doesn't like that she will have to eat breakfast with Dad and his side of the family. I said we all stay in the same hotel and can't exclude people from the breakfast.